As I indicated before, Ms. Patrice Reid, lecturer, School of Allied Health and Nursing, University of Technology, will now present on making campuses safe for women.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Okay, today, as Mr. Finzi said, I'm talking about making campuses safe for women. And particularly, I want to emphasize the importance of exploring the issue, the strategies that we have used as women to ensure our own safety, personal safety, and the safety of property, and also some areas in which we believe the university or the administrators can improve safety and security on the campuses. Now, firstly, I can have a slide change or? Just next. Okay, next slide. Okay. Now, why is it important for us to explore safety of women on campus? First of all, it's a basic human need. Our psychosocial and physical safety is very important to us because then it promotes wellness, and wellness in terms of physical wellness as well as psychological wellness. And if we're well physically as well as psychologically, and we feel safe and secure in a space, then we can be more productive, we can be more efficient, and there will be more success for both students and staff. Next slide. Now, the ratio of women to men on campuses have increased. We see more women on the campuses now in comparison to men. And I'm not just speaking about the Jamaican context, I'm also speaking about universally or worldwide. And females generally perceive themselves more vulnerable based on the culture of some of the societies that we live in, as well as by virtue of our physical makeup. Next slide. Now, what are some of the concerns that women have about our safety? Rape, assault, kidnapping, sexual harassment, and stalking. In fact, a colleague mentioned, having spoken to a colleague, that a student stalked her to the point of knowing that when she got married and had to address that situation, and there was nothing in place for her to then report or to do anything surrounding that stalking situation for her on campus. Another issue is workplace violence and robbery, whether it's motor vehicle, money, electronic equipment, as well as any other personal belongings. Now, next slide. Now, how do we manage this risk? It's twofold from the perspective of a woman. It's a personal responsibility. As women, we have to be active participants in ensuring our own safety and security by applying strategies, whether they're well documented or best practice, as well as ones that we contrive within our different spaces. And on the other hand, outside of personal responsibility, it is also the responsibility of the university, the administration, when it comes to women's safety. Now, what does this mean? It means also increased security. It also means enforcement of policy and maybe enhancement of the policies that we have already existing. Next slide. Right. Next slide, please. So, in talking about this issue, I reviewed the literature. I also spoke with women, female students, and staff members from the University of Technology, from the University of the West Indies, and other colleges. And it's the strategies that I'm presenting now were gained from these informal conversations. Some general strategies: learning and using self-defense, learning and monitoring body language of others, what is deemed as suspicious, being aware of the surroundings and being alert and more vigilant, not staying too late on campus or what is considered after hours, wearing comfortable clothing to aid in escape, such as wearing flat shoes, wearing pants, nothing too tight, so that if they need to run, they can run. Next slide. For entering, check in, just poking the head in to see if there's anyone inside. In addition to that, carry smaller travel size flashlights, especially when working late. So if there are places where it's not properly lit, that they have their own they have their own lights. Using aerosols or similar aids. Now, interestingly, some students specified using pepper spray, although it's illegal within our context. But because of the perceived vulnerability, they still go to the extent of carrying, whether it's a pepper spray or any other aerosol, to protect themselves. Next slide, please. Walking, I believe Miss May mentioned it earlier, walking with phone on hand so that they have the ability to call for help, especially having credit on the phone. Not a please call me, but having the sufficient funds on the phone in order to call someone or alert security personnel. In addition to that, having keys available for offices and cars in advance before opening doors. Don't wait until you are at the door to retrieve the keys. Having it beforehand in the well-lit space so that it's very quick to go into those offices or cars. Ensuring that windows and doors are closed before leaving cars as well as offices. Next slide, please. Pertaining to being on campus very early in the morning or late at night, some strategies employed by women include staying or walking in groups, never walking alone, walking briskly to and from the campuses, from places on the campuses, never leaving doors unlocked, especially when alone, and placing purses in a closed space while in office. I can give you a personal experience. I was in my office, not at the University of Technology. I was in my office at another campus where I formerly worked at, and I was having student consultations. It was in the day. All of a sudden, a student came to me and said, Miss, is this your purse? No, I had my handbag and purse in my office, and she found the purse in a parking lot far away from my own office. And I was surprised. I could not understand how my purse left or walked away from my bag. Right? Now, my bag was left on the desk in the open. So my experience from that, my lesson from that experience is to put my bag in a very close space, in a drawer, somewhere locked away, even if I'm consulting with students. It's not the persons external to the campus that we have to be wary of only. Our own students at times can be perpetrators of criminal acts. Next slide, please. Okay, other strategies: avoiding lonely or darkened areas of the campus, using peepholes when necessary if you have it, and not meeting with male students alone early in the morning or late at night. And this was mentioned by a colleague who said that she has had the experience of males propositioning her when on campus, even in the day. So it would be more, she deemed it as more a distressing situation if she was there at night and alone with that male student. Next slide, please. Strategies used for parking areas and walking: being aware of the surroundings generally, looking for security when walking, not walking with monies or purse exposed, carrying the flashlight as I mentioned earlier, especially when there's limited security patrols. Next slide, please. Involving security personnel and systems that women have used on campuses, as I mentioned before, including knowing the times of the security patrols, so they know when to leave, not to stay too late on campus based on when the security has to leave their post. Calling security personnel if a strange person is observed, observing, getting escorts for going to and from cars or to the bus stop off campus, on the campus itself. Next slide, please. Other strategies used. There are other strategies that have been used in collaboration with others. For example, when working late, we use internal phones or other messaging applications such as WhatsApp to let each other know that we're working late, what time are you leaving? When you're leaving, I'll leave with you, that we leave as a group in the night. And then we check in with each other, have you reached home safely? That's one of the mechanisms that has been used, I have used personally, when working late with my colleagues. Have an accountability system. That's another strategy that has been used. Having someone at home know you're working late and where you are, in addition to having a staff member, another female or male, knowing where you are at all times. And that aids in the safety and security of women. Another strategy is using collaboration with others, includes an alerting system or signals using words and so forth. Speaking to this specifically, calling someone by another name, saying, hi Mrs. Reid, and you're not Mrs. Reid. That is one of the codes that has been shared that suggests some danger, or saying, my grandma lives here, you know, something like that. Those are some of the things that women have used to show that they're in danger or they need assistance. Next slide. Now, what do we believe is the role of the university? One is education intervention, involving all stakeholders, TAs, lecturers from all lecturers, support staff, all stakeholders, and community members, because the university resides in a community, and we have a mutual beneficial relationship within those communities. So it's about educating all stakeholders and involve them in discussion spaces and sensitizing them to safety guidelines and procedures. Next slide. Creating awareness programs, primary intervention programs, which is based on intervention, as well as providing self-defense and first aid classes. Those are some of the interventions that we believe would be very good for us as women in ensuring our safety and security from an administrative perspective. Next slide. Okay, so there's some improvements needed, and Ms. May mentioned them, and the person, I don't remember their names now, but the crime box specialists mentioned some of the improvements that were mentioned by women. So the increased installation of cameras on campus, locating hotspots, having adequate lighting, using whistles.
Somebody is doing some movement. I'm not too certain which location, but we're hearing you rather clearly here. Thank you. Just mute the mic. Thank you so much. Sorry to have interrupted.
No problem. Another improvement is to have whistles or panic apps, and I'm glad to hear that there is a system or in place, or will be in place soon, that will provide that application. Mobile guards patrolling, more of them patrolling on bicycles and in cars. Next slide. Other improvements include alert systems, a reliable notification systems for crisis, and I think the application that mentioned could provide that service. Having improved transportation and escort services, especially late at night, and also having better screening of persons entering campuses. As Ms. May mentioned earlier, there are persons who will come on the campus who have no campus-related business, but they're here on campus, and that is an issue for females as well. Next slide. having transparent and efficient law or policy enforcement. Enforcement of the university policies and sanctions of the wider Jamaican law is a concern and is a recommendation that was brought forward by the women I interviewed. In addition, making cases of rape more transparent and persecuting more cases. Next slide. And I think that can be enabled through education, detailed screening and sensitization of security personnel regarding the unique case of the campus. The campus's profile is quite different from, yet similar to that of the wider Jamaican context. So that has to be focused on with training and sensitization of security personnel. Ensure that parking lots are well lit and monitored, and the managers need to be more proactive than reactive in their ideas surrounding security. We know where the universities are located. We know the profiles of the communities in which the universities are located. So bearing that factor in mind should lead to some intervention before occurrences happen that lead to insecurities or that of any harm coming to women, as well as the general population at the university. Next slide. Now, and security personnel. Not all students have Samsungs or smartphones, and they do rely on text message systems. So yes, they still do. So it's good for having signages up that promote or have a quick number for them to text in case they are in danger. And also developing a system similar to a neighborhood watch where you're training staff and students to work in tandem with security personnel, because the security on their own, they're not the only persons that are responsible for security. We too as a community can build that sort of patrolling system or security networks on the campuses. Next slide. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. Safety is not just a slogan, it's a way of life. We feel safe first within ourselves, and then by virtue of feeling that sense of safety and security psychologically and physically, we can be more effective, we can be more efficient, and we can be generally well. And thank you.
Thank you so much.